Good afternoon, my friends. This is Paul, and today I'll be reviewing for you
The Exit 8 Switch 2 Edition. Did you catch the anomaly?
Since I already reviewed the original Exit 8 on Switch 1, and that game only came out a year ago, this review is primarily going to be focused on the changes made to the Switch 2 version, as well as should you upgrade, if you can't upgrade, a consolation prize for Switch 1 owners, and what it feels like to return to the Exit 8 after Platform 8 has come out and I've 100%ed it. First and foremost, the graphics, resolution, and frame rate have received a bit of an upgrade. I didn't notice too much as far as the frame rate. I'm sure if I went back and played the Exit 8 again, I would see some differences. Maybe the man's footsteps are a bit less choppy, and certain anomalies that would say chase you are a bit less choppy, but it still felt like it was a pretty smooth game. There are options to change how the camera moves in the options menu, which is nice. But as far as the graphics, now that I noticed immediately. As soon as I turned on the game, I said, whoa, the ceiling looks a bit different. And at first I thought that it was my game crashing on me, because it did feel a bit weird. But then I learned that this game has a different lighting system on the Switch 2, and thus the ceiling is going to look different depending on how the light particles come out of the lights on the ceiling, which I thought was absolutely genius. There's also a few other little subtle details, like if you look at the floor, there are a lot more shoe marks from people walking, or if you go to the doors, there are a few more scratch marks on the door. And it doesn't radically revolutionize how the game looks, but those little touches do make it feel slightly more immersive and really makes you thankful for the advanced lighting capabilities of the Switch 2. There are also new anomalies to be found. And while I kind of wish that there were more of them, and there were a few missed opportunities here and there where I was like, that would have been a good spot for an anomaly, but the game just didn't take me up on it. But at the same time, they did a good job of blending in with the original game so well that I kept thinking to myself, was that there the original? There were maybe only like 2 or 3 where I literally said, oh, that is absolutely new. But either way, more content is great, especially in a game that was often criticized for being too short. And it was also great to have that sense of unease in returning to this world, as the Exit 8 is one of those games that's really fun to 100%. But then going back to it, you feel like you can speedrun it. But this time around, I had to take it almost as slow as I did my first time around, because I thought to myself, okay, if there are new anomalies, then I'm going to have to look doubly hard at everything to make sure I'm not missing a single detail. Admittedly, from what I can remember, the new anomalies were pretty obvious when they appeared, but they were still a lot of fun to discover. And I am very grateful that they took the time to actually add meaningful new content to an experience that isn't locked behind a smartphone. Take a hint, other Switch 2 versions of existing Switch 1 games. Now, I did say that there's a consolation for Switch 1 users, and that's that the developers have promised that these new anomalies are coming to the Switch 1 version for free at a later date, but they didn't say when. So if you're impatient, that might be a reason to upgrade on Switch 2. Really, the only thing that's exclusive to this version is the upgraded resolution, lighting, and frame rate. So if you just want the new anomalies and are perfectly fine with the way the Switch 1 version worked, then just wait for it. However, this is a very cheap game, even with the upgrade. The original only cost $4, and if you already have the Exit 8 and want to upgrade to the Switch 2, it only costs you $1. So if this is the first time you're playing Exit 8, you only have to pay $5 for the complete experience. And that is an absolute steal. Like, why not get that if you have a Switch 2? And I'm sure that this game goes on sale a lot, so you're probably gonna get even better deals than that. I feel like this is one of those cases where it's so cheap on the eShop that you don't even really need to rent it like I usually do. I think the average person is probably able to spend $5 on a game like this. Now, if you didn't like the original Exit 8, I don't think the Switch 2 version is going to change your mind, but I do think you'll have a lot of fun returning to this world and seeing if your observation skills are up to the test And I personally feel like one of the strengths this game has over Platform 8 is that you actually have to spot the anomalies and make a decision as to whether to go forward or backward. In Platform 8, you couldn't go backwards, so sometimes you just see the anomaly and just have to go forward, and there wouldn't necessarily be a strategy. In that game, sometimes there would be individual strategies that you'd need to do to outsmart the anomalies, which Exit 8 doesn't have quite as much. There are a few that like chase you and have some jump scares, but for the most part, if you spot it, you can just turn around and not have to feel like you're rushing. Now, one thing that has been added since I last reviewed the original, either that or I just never noticed. In the original, I mentioned that once you find all of the anomalies, there's a sign on the wall that says that you found all of them. In Platform 8, there would be signs on the train that would tell you how many anomalies are remaining, and it seems like they took that feedback from that game, and after you get the credits once, you will see a sign that keeps updating, saying now you have this many anomalies left, and now you have this many, and once you find all of them, it'll say congratulations, you found all of them. The English on that sign is atrocious, so it makes me wonder if the company didn't have enough time to improve their English or get a good localizer, but it's a small price to pay for convenience when people want to 100% it. I love Exit 8, and while the Switch 2 version doesn't radically transform it, it did give me an excuse to revisit this world and try to test my detective skills once again. It is a game that I will likely try to 100% and maybe even do a perfect run if my capture card doesn't go on the fritz. I think you should absolutely pick it up, and even if you can't afford the Switch 2 version, the new anomalies will come to the Switch 1 at some point, so no one has to feel left out. So with that, thank you very much for watching. Let me know down in the comment section what you think of the review, and until the next time, remember to keep the faith, stay epic, and God bless. Bye!